I'm trying to bring how I saw it and what I'm also seeing amateurs doing as well, and what I saw the best players in the game. So here's what I would say, right? The Hall of Fame guys and all the guys that played on the PGA Tour and then got out there, obviously great players on any level. And if I started going down the list and I gave you names, and if we started with Jack Nicklas, and Mr. Costas is not here, but what ball flight did he have? Okay. So we'd go Tiger Woods.
All over the place.
We're not sure, right? But he's got one or the other. He played draws for a while, fades for a while. Right now he's trying to cut the ball, right? So if we went down to Arnold Palmer, what was his ball flight? Tend to draw the ball. Sam Snead, tend to draw the ball. Ben Hogan. So every time I say a name, you're looking at some kind of ball flight. No one's saying straight. Right. So what I would say is that the best players in the game have intuitively figured out that a straight ball in itself is not the way to go. Gary Player, same thing. He had a curvature to his ball.
So
now,
Brandon, are you saying that if the rules of the PGA Tour, that you played out, 12 to 15 years, if the rules of the PGA Tour where we had to have a club face laser beam at the flag, a club path laser beam matching the face, and we also had to hit it directly in the COG to make sure there's no gearing. If that were the rules, then how many people play the PGA Tour?
I would say 0. Right?
But those are the rules for hitting a straight shot, minus gearing. Those are the rules.
It's the only way you could play. It's a zero-sum game. Right? If we said, as all those names I went down from number 1 all-time Nicklas all the way down, and even to today's players, from Fred Couples to Rory McIlroy to one of the best ball strikers I've ever seen is Tom Lehman, they had a curvature on every ball. Now, why is that? And I put forth on the debate of the straight ball zeroing things out versus having some kind of a path buffer for more playable face angles, is how we say it. It's not just about a good shot, it's about shot distribution, right? So in the case of Tom Lehman, we'll take him because we had a nice conversation with him at Disney a couple of years ago, the last tournament of the year, and he's sitting there and he's hitting 6 irons, I believe, and he's got this really nice curve every ball. And you're standing behind him, every ball starting to the right of the target. Now let's say you hit a ball straight, okay? You're going to hit it straight at that target, and I can try and do it here, and you're straight at that target. Now, by definition, I'm not going to hit it straight every time. Some balls are going to start to the left, some are going to start to the right. Every ball that doesn't start at the target, and if I did get my path at the target, it's trying now to work away from the target. So on the distribution of golf shots, you got balls that are starting on either side of this and moving away from the target. I think in order to play effective golf as a coach, and I'm coaching players, I encourage them to have their ball flight because one, you have a familiar look. Every time you look down the fairway and you look, you know where this ball is you're gonna try and start this ball for the most. Well, so you want to draw it. Because, well, I aim a little bit more this way, I move the ball here, I just sense that the handle raises up like this through impact. Okay. Well, you want to hit a low cut? Well, I aim more over here, the ball comes back, I come down.
He has a system.
So you have a system for every shot. He goes, no, I don't. I don't think about anything. Right.
Just see it and just see the target and react.
Good for you. So everyone has some kind of template that they utilize. It's just whether or not it's functional. So in the case of Charles, it wasn't functional. So we got to give him a template doing and start to try to make sense of it. So you have, again, Lee Trevino had a strong grip, shut face, arm going out like this, drop it way to the inside, aim way over here, and hit a cut shot. And at the same time, in the same era, the best player of the game, Jack Nicklas, had a much more neutral grip, more upright, right arm out, face, much more open condition. They both trying to rotate. You got to load your right elbow and your left wrist. You can't have it going like this, right? Because he's trying to swing. So we started with ball position, his baseline shift, understanding that when he was doing this, right, his weight was kind of, he'd just extend and kind of keep his weight back and go across, that we need to have the lateral component in your swing as well as the rotation and the vertical part. He's got to get some more lateral, so this just keeps the path going out to the right, and also that's a shallowing piece rather than a steepening piece. So we're trying to get a little bit more wrist caught, we're trying to get the right elbow to fold a little bit more slide, keep the ball forward, aim to the right. Now, in the first day, he went from that 2.5 average down to where he had some that was 3, almost 4 down. He had some that were almost level to where he was averaging 1, 1.5, 2 degrees up. And so he got it right away. So that's kind of how he played it. He just does it with slight baseline shift, taking the down out so he's somewhere near level, and he knows that. So he's doing it with his aim, right? And it's basically like a straight aim. Now, the unique thing about Charles was he got to the top, and for a long time he'd worked on trying to get as much of this lag condition as long as he could. So he would stand up, he'd pull this handle down, get this thing as far down as he can, and then throw it out. So he had a lot of face angle problems and wrist angle issues. So he's continuing to work on that, but what we did was we started to get him to show pictures of the best drivers of the ball that I've ever seen. Norman, the Hogans, the Sneeds, the Nicklases, all these guys. But their handle position is not so far forward like this. All these good drivers, if you took a point where it's parallel to the ground, this handle is not in front of their right leg. It's somewhere from the middle of it to the back end of it. Tom Watson, one of the really good drivers of the balls like this, hitting it. So we see that and we use that as a template for him. Now he always goes a little bit past it, which is fine, but he's nowhere near as much as he's doing. When you see him on the driving range, if you do, you'll see him doing all kinds of exercises with it, not necessarily a golf club in his hand, because the motor pattern is kind of hard to change with a golf club in your hand because you're going to gravitate to how you do it. So what we have to do is get him to understand this is how you're going to move your body, this is the motor pattern that we want, this is how you're going to use the grounds, how you're going to move your body, here's where things need to be. Take the golf club out, have something that's similar to it, and get him to understand that's what it should start to feel like, and move that direction using his awarenesses. Because any other way, if you're trying to say, okay, you're going to get up here and he cannot sense these angles at all. He just can't do it. So he has to learn how to, if I'm going to take something away, right, this is a feeling of power for him, I got to give it back, right? Got to give something back to generate power. Because he can do it like this, but he feels like he's swinging at 90 miles an hour. It's still 113, but he feels like it's 90 miles an hour. So you got to give something back, so he's got to learn to generate power in a different way. So, but we're able to do it, moving the ball up, understanding his wrist angles, how is he's extending. He had a tendency to come down, stay down, hit, and then come back up. So we started learning about, teaching about extension pieces and all that stuff. So that's how we did it with him. But the bottom line is, this year already, in the 3 tournaments he's played, he was I think he was number 2 or 3 in driving, number 1 in greens and regulation at San Jose. He was very high up there again in both those categories in Las Vegas and finished 5th. And then he just finished 5th again this week over in Malaysia. Almost 8 degrees, 7.6, 7.7, something like that was his driving. Now what do we know, right? We just took this from the template. What do we know right here? 7.7 down is what's it doing to his path. It's just throwing it over here to the right, but I said, wait a second, he drew these lines on the TV, and you didn't see any of that, right? You're just seeing this beautiful kind of a look that's going around like this. So what was he doing? He was trying to take the path away and get to 0 by how? Getting the direction of his swing 7 degrees over this way. So now he's swinging down and he's swinging across to take away that out. The problem he's got is he's trying to get to 0, right, to your point, which we'll kind of go into here in a little bit. So he's trying to get to 0, but he's got so much down and so much to account for and so much deviation on here of his swing direction